it will literally try to replace whatever contexts that it knows about, and if it doesn't, it'll pass that text through and leave it alone, just like it does all the rest of the HTML on a given page.
Right. Actually, so let's have the user choose who they are, and then show the results accordingly. So I'm just going to create a simple form here that asks you to type in your username. And here's where we set the form, or the form variable name. Value equals, and then all right. So, and I'm going to separate that with a rule as well. So, and we have to put in the action and method. So we're going to do, this is test1.html, and method, we'll just do a get method. So that looks right. So
So your form is just literally calling the very page that it's on.
Right, right. So we'll do a refresh there, and we get the form. Let's say we're Parker. So this is our
Suddenly all the rest works.
Right. Gives today's date, and then the final switch context at the end. Recognize that we're Parker. Let's say we're random, somebody random. So all these statements should result in true statements. You are not Mr. Sagehen. You're not Mr. Sagehen. Who are you? Now the system doesn't recognize. Let's be Mr. Sagehen. Hit submit. Hello, Mr. Sagehen. Hello, Mr. Sagehen.
So is this, what happens if you type in lowercase Sagehen right now?
That's a good point. That's a good point. WebDNA internally is not case sensitive, other than the contexts and commands that use paths to the file system. Those will be reliant on whatever the case sensitivity of the platform is. But WebDNA itself is not case sensitive, so it's going to reduce or produce the same results regardless.
Is that good or bad?
Well, it's
certainly something to be aware of.
It's something to be aware of. As we WebDNA, as we have talked about, it's an intuitive language, and it's an easy to use language. And
well, and as an example, we've done, just going over what we've done here, we've looked at a basic date tag, we've done basic setting of a text variable, then we did a couple of different control structures with the hide if, the show if, the if then else, and then a switch case construct. Those are pretty sophisticated control structures. We came back to the same page and we added a user input form, and we were immediately able to use the variable that form was providing back to the page. So you can certainly see how quickly you can build functions and operation directly into an HTML page.
right.
I should also point out here too, if you scroll down, that it pays to spend some time looking at the tables in those examples. If you scroll up to where the instruction here is listed at the top, I think we're in the, up right there. There's always an outline of the instruction. Like here it says, if, then whatever the expressions are, then do this, else, otherwise, else, and then closing if. If you just study that first line, you can quickly see, as simply as it can be stated, how that instruction is constructed and how it works. And you can usually always copy that directly out of here and paste it into your page.
Right.
Then if you want to understand more, just read down further. And in particular, the table here, it takes some time to understand how all the different comparisons work. Obviously, there's equal, but then an exclamation point means not equal. The up caret character means contains. That means that if I have a word like White House and I just want to find IT, I can say that IT is contained in White House using that character. Right. You have to read through all of these to understand how they all work, but there's quite a bit of power inside of every one of the statements, whether it's a show if, a hide if, an if then else.
Right. That's a good point. You can be an avid user of WebDNA for years and still find something new. And you don't need to know everything to start with.
Just to know where it is, and this at-a-glance reference is
right.
great.
So let's just go back to at-a-glance. And so far we've just looked in this category. We have all these other tags and tools at your fingertips ready for, some very powerful tools as well. When you get into this technical category, you have access to things like shell. Once you have access to the shell, you can do some pretty low-level operations.
Yeah, pretty much any command that can be executed at a Unix shell prompt can be executed by WebDNA at that same prompt.
Right. So that's a pretty abridged introduction, I guess.
Yeah, it's an introduction to how the WebDNA syntax works. And I guess now what we're going to look at is moving into a situation where we've got a real-world job specification.
Let's get right into it, into the tutorial. So we're going to actually reproduce let me see if I can, right here. We're doing a Mac Tel or Macintosh Intel build right now. And for this build and for this video, we're going to reproduce an age-old sample store. This has been the default store that people can go in and look at the source. Very simple store, but as you can tell, it's kind of has that Web 1.0 look, and so we're going to reproduce this in the upcoming tutorial in the next section there, and get this up to date, and at the same time do some demonstrations.
Yeah, because most of you will probably be at a point where you want to build a website that has some function for a customer. Can you take the plunge? Can you go ahead and charge money and do that work? Certainly WebDNA will quickly allow you to understand that you can do that work. So this will be a great example. So we'll start that up in the next section.
Okay.